Hello, hello, hello. You're tuning into another episode of The Wunderkind Show. And today's topic, I would call it Greg Roman's a terrorist, you know what I'm saying? But I ain't gonna call it that. We're gonna talk about plays and schemes today, right? And the reason why I'm gonna talk about plays and schemes is because something has to be said, not just about the players that we have, but about the scheme and about the usage of the players that we have. And look, I'm going to look right in the camera when I say this. I want the best for my QB. He is the first MVP of this team. Other teams have had multiple MVPs and stuff like that, and in their inception and everything else. But I'm talking about Ravens, because, before, whatever. But he's our first MVP ever at the quarterback position, while leading the league in passing touchdowns and being the most exciting player since Michael Vick. So let me say this. I want the best for him. If it was up to me, he would have the best line. He'd have the best receivers. He'd have the best tight end. Or at least he'd have Mark Andrews. Because you're not getting Travis Kelce. And I would have Derrick Henry running behind him. I don't care. I'd figure out a way. If it was possible, that's what I want from him. But we do not live in a perfect world. We do not live in a constructed world where I can bend the rules to whatever I say so. I'm not a reality bender. A relender. That's not me. But to keep it in context, I would at least like our QB to have a top 13 receiver. Top 12 receiver. And the reason why I go there is this. I've heard a lot of Raven fans discuss, about the players that we have, the players that we want. And if we had the players that we want, would they even be utilized the proper way? And the answer is yes. The answer is yes. That's why the Ravens won't do it. This scheme, let me tell you something right now. The Ravens do not want to spend money on the wide receiver position. They just don't want to. They undervalue the wide receiver position, and they believe with this scheme it allows them to do so and still win games. See, this scheme is totally tight end and fullback centric. I want y'all to understand that the star of this offense is not Lamar Jackson, but it is Patrick Ricard. I don't care what y'all say. Oh, but Nitro, you're being facetious. No, I'm not. No, I'm not. Hey, no, I am not. Wasn't it just last year that Raven fans believed that Huntley could do the same things as Lamar because he could run and he can elude, big hits pretty well? Isn't it? Let me tell y'all something. Even with Mark Andrews, as good as he's been, this team doesn't believe he's expendable. He's not expendable. They believe he's expendable. They believe it. I'm telling y'all they do. They got Kolar likely. I'm telling you they believe he is. The only player in this system that they believe is everything, the eye of the sun, the toast of the moon, is Patrick Ricard. Because they want heavy set on almost every play. They don't want wide receivers out there. They want to know that that guy can not only catch, not only can run, not only can pass protect, run block, road grade. They look at him as a weapon. That's the scheme that is being employed right now in Baltimore. And do you know why they like that scheme? Because guess what? With Patrick Ricard being your star, how much are you paying Patrick Ricard compared to what you would pay a DeAndre Hopkins? What would you be paying? What are you paying a Patrick Ricard compared to what you'd be paying a Devontae Adams? Tyreek Hill. The list goes on. The list goes on. Justin Jefferson. Deebo Samuels. That's what it is. They want to be able to not be strapped or spending a certain amount on players, even though the league is dictating that that's where the money should go. Listen, we got Duve on this team, right? And I believe Duve is a good player. I don't believe he's great. I believe he's a very good player. And what Duve is he's not a great receiver. What he is, he's a weapon. He is somebody that you line him up in the backfield. You keep the defense guessing. He's a Cordell Patterson. You feel me? That's the cloth in which he's cut from. You get where I'm coming from? The players that can be used on kick return, punt return, backfield, slot, outside, like those players. They're positionless. They're just great football players. I believe he had 2 touches on Sunday. That's our scheme. They want to be able to absolutely excruciatingly pound the rock and pound the ball down the throats of the opponents in which they are playing. The days when you had Lamar throwing for 270, 280, 290, 320. They don't like it. They want to control the clock, meaning they want to eat up the clock. Long drives. Get that defense sitting over there, very well rested, and then allow the defense to come on the field, very rested, to wreak havoc to the other side of the ball. And then hopefully they have to kick off the ball and do the whole process all over again. Here's the problem with that. When you are so heavy run dependent, right? Any slip up derails the train. And what I mean by that is a penalty that puts you back 5 yards. An offsides or not an offsides, but a false start, delay of game. Tell me if you have not heard this before. It's so crazy because I truly believe that even though we have not given not an iota of the weapons that Lamar deserves, not that we want him to have, that he deserves, another coach and another scheme can get 10 times more out of the people that we have on the squad than what they are doing now. They're doing now. That shouldn't even be something that people can argue about. Even if, listen, think about this real quick. I've said this multiple times on this platform. We have the most exciting player in the NFL since Michael Vick. Tell me if I'm lying that Sunday's game wasn't one of the most boring games you've ever watched. Lamar took the checkdowns. This is what I tried to tell people before. When you're playing this style of the wing T and all this type of stuff like that, one receiver on the field. Yeah, then, and you're going to play it as heavy as we want to, it's almost like you're saying that, we need somebody like Patrick Ricard. Let me tell you why this team lacks total creativity. Why isn't one of the other tight ends in that role? Nobody's scared of Patrick Ricard. Nobody. If he catches the ball wide open, he's down in 2 yards. He's not gaining 5 yards, 6 yards, 7 yards, 8 yards, 9 yards, 10 yards. No, he's going to go down almost immediately. I mean, you would think that he would just truck over people and go for 10 yards. You remember when you were watching Stone Cold and The Longest Yard? The movie with Adam Sandler and Chris Rock and them? And he was like, oh, and he was running it. And he looked at he looked at that. That's how a white man runs the football. And Nelly responded, if I was on defense, I'd crack you right in your egg head. You remember that? That's what you would think someone at his size would be doing to teams. And with his usage rate, you would think that the team would give him opportunities to do that, but they're not. Because they know that he can't. They know that he runs like he has 500 pounds on his back. There is no explosiveness to his game. He is a walking, talking, movable tank. And I'm talking one of them old school slow tanks. Those ones when you can walk next to it and keep up to it. But a tank nonetheless. That's what he is. If you look, this scheme doesn't properly utilize the players that we have. I want to tell y'all something, right? You see how Philly has incorporated wide receivers into their game plan of running the ball with not only the quarterback, but the running backs. And it's become very, very dynamic. The reason is this. If you have a scheme that highlights your best players, not so much one position, that's a great coach. That's a great scheme. Because you're not always going to have the players that you want to fit what you want to do. So a lot of times you have to have a scheme that can highlight players at different positions. This scheme does not allow us to highlight players at wide receiver. Any other tight end not named Mark Andrews. It just doesn't. And the sad part is, it could. It could. That's... Yo, listen. Anybody that watches all 22, and listen, I know a lot of people think that they're like gurus since they watch all 22s, whatever. Believe what you want to believe. But it's still a great tool to use. Look at the matchups when you go 2 wide receivers on the left, the right, or you split them. Keep a tight end or 2 tight ends on the field. It works. There were games, think about this real quick, where Bateman was cooking and we just totally said, no, you're not getting no more. There have been games where we say, yo, Duve was cooking, and we looked him in the face and said, you're not getting no more. There's been games where Likely was cooking, they say, you ain't getting it no more. The only player that's allowed to cook all game, or you can even say Hollywood, the only player that's allowed to cook game in, game out, quarter after quarter is Mark Andrews and Patrick Ricard. That's it. That is it. Look. Do I believe we did the best job constructing this team? No, I do not believe we did. Defensively, oh yeah, our defense is looking better and better each week. I mean, think about the talent that you've given this coach. Any defensive coach would kiss your behind for this unit. 2 all-pros or 2 pro bowlers at the corner, a pro bowler at linebacker, another pro bowler at safety. A young guy that's ranging and stuff like that, first round pick at your other safety spot. Veterans line across the defensive line, and 2 young bucks, and another linebacker that's probably the best coverage linebacker in the league. Name a defensive coach that wouldn't want that. That's great. That's fine. I like it. I mean, come on now. Who doesn't want to have a great defense? Problem is, our team says, bro, we got all our stuff on defense. As long as we got Lamar and Justin T, we good, baby. Can't be that way. I don't want to construe what my point is. Look, I want better players. But the players that we have are not even being put in a position where they can be used properly or utilized to their strengths. They're not even being used to their strengths. I want you to understand this. When you take Ricard out of the game and we go 50% or less using him, we score points. A lot of points. That's the crazy thing. They know it. They know it. This scheme, as bad as it is, can be opened up. They're refusing to do so. So a lot of people, a lot of Raven fans are saying, why do I even want a player that they don't believe will be utilized? My argument to that is saying, if we got a player that they're forced to pay X amount of money to, then they'll have to use him because it'll be a waste of money. I want to force their hands at this point. I swear to God I want to. Like, I would love for Lamar Jackson to be like, I'm not playing another down until you give me a better quarterback. And if any of y'all backup quarterbacks say y'all play, I'll punch you in the face. Good luck with no QB on Sunday. Get me a top receiver and let's go win these games. It's, bruh, Jimmy Garoppolo. I want y'all to understand this real quick, right? The word flexibility is not just a term used in gymnastics. You understand? It's not. It's not. Flexibility allows you to warp and change as outer forces dictate pressure to a different portion of the structure. That's what flexibility means. You see in the 49ers, Kyle Shanahan, and I'm not saying he's the best, but there's flexibility to his scheme. Flexibility. A Trey Lance can run it, all the way to a statue like Jimmy Garoppolo can run it. Totally different types of QBs. But flexibility can allow them to flourish. Bill Belichick's offense in New England. I know a lot of people are going to be like, no. Before Cam Newton's injury, they were winning games. So you had Cam that's been successful as a New England Patriot. Jacoby Brissett has been successful as a New England Patriot. What's his name? Jimmy Garoppolo's been successful as the quarterback of the New England Patriots. Tom Brady, and we're not even going to talk about the guy that got a huge contract after the Brady thing that made him go 11-5 and got a great deal out of it and made a lot of money for it. Flexibility. There's an old saying: if life gives you lemons, you make lemonade. That's not the Raven way. They don't believe in making lemonade or lemon meringue pie or anything like that. Lemon pops. No. They literally peel the lemon and eat the rind. That's what they do. They say, pain is good. Discomfort is great. Yeah, this builds character. I swear to God. Because that's what it would dictate to do. Listen, if you're not going to give a player all the weapons in the world, right? Then what you do is you try to highlight the players that are around them the best way possible to make them as competent as possible. That means Duvernay's all over the field. One way, there's no reason for him to be off the field. When you take out your running back, put him in the backfield. When you put him, he's at the second receiver. He's in the slot. He's on the outside. The defense is like, yo, what are we going to do about this guy? Now, it opens up the run game. Right? If it's Duvernay motioning, isn't it more likely for him to be a threat than Patrick Ricard? Patrick Ricard is a mobile offensive lineman. That's what he is. He's a glorified offensive lineman. That's what he is. Very cheap, very easy to keep, doesn't break the bank to keep him. He wants to be paid like he was a tight end. He's used so much that he was, think about this for, the fullback position is almost, there's only like 2 or 3 teams in the league that even keeps a fullback. He wanted to be paid like a tight end to show you how much he's used in Baltimore. He's like, I know how important I am to y'all. Lamar, it's Ricard. It's the Ricard show. People call him Hard R. And look, I'm once again, I do believe that we need talent. But I do get where some people are coming from, even though I don't agree with it. Why get talent if they're not going to use it? This scheme does not allow players or highlight players or open up players or allow players to be great, especially on the outside, which I don't even understand how that's possible. When you watch, and I'm going to close on this. When you used to watch Derrick Henry, right, last year, when they had A.J. Brown and stuff like that, you know what they did? We're going to pound the ball down your throat. And as soon as that safety creeps up a little bit, and there's one-on-ones on both sides like this, AJ, get the ball. Do your job. Then it's like, yo, what are we going to do? Right? Look, I hope we can get to a Super Bowl, but it's starting to be harder and harder with all the obstacles in our way, for us to make it there. We're not only going there with a lack of offensive talent, we're trying to say we can make it to the Super Bowl with the lack of a proper scheme and proper play calling, situational play calling. Think about it. And some of the deficiencies of the team are ingrained at this point. Delay of games, false starts. Think about it. We are like, oh, that's the one delay of game every game. That's not good. And that should reflect on the coaches, not the players. That was another episode of the Wunderkind Show. Thank you guys for tuning in. You could be anywhere else in the world, but you're here with me. You know I appreciate that. Please remember, like, subscribe, hit that notification bell. Please retweet and leave a comment. I will be responding because I got smoke, baby. Got smoke for anybody, man. And I love bantering with people, that like the Ravens, that like football. I mean, 49ers, whoever. I like talking sports. Shoot, I like rugby. I like all of them. Let's talk about it. So, that's another episode. This is Nitro signing out. And look, I got to go. So that means y'all got to go. So peace. And y'all know my slogan. Peace. And I'm out. Yerp.